I hadn't planned to come home for the summer. My original plan was to stay on campus, take a couple extra courses, maybe find a part-time job. But when the dorms shut down for maintenance and my professor canceled his seminar last minute, there wasn't much keeping me there. So, I packed my stuff, texted Mom, and drove back to the house I hadn't stayed in for over a year. Only it wasn't quite the same house. Mom had warned me in a quick phone call, Helena's staying with us for a while, just until she finds a new place. Her lease ended early, something with her landlord. Be nice. I remembered Helena, Mom's best friend since college. She used to visit once or twice a year when I was a kid. Back then, she was just Aunt Helena, the glamorous friend with the red lipstick, smooth voice, and expensive perfume that lingered in the hallway long after she left. She laughed a lot. She always brought wine and wore high heels, even in the house. But that was years ago. Now she was living here. When I walked through the door with my duffel bag slung over my shoulder, she was the first person I saw. She looked up from the kitchen table, her reading glasses low on her nose, a mug in one hand, wearing a simple black tank top and gray lounge pants. Her hair was tied loosely, still damp from a shower, framing her face in a soft, careless way. Her eyes lit up. "Look at you," she said, standing slowly. "College looks good on you." I smiled, not sure what to say. "Hey, it's been a while." She stepped forward, pulled me into a brief hug, polite, not rushed. I caught the faint scent of lavender and something warmer, muskier. Her skin was cool against mine. "You're taller," she said when she pulled back, "and your voice dropped. I almost didn't recognize you." "Yeah, well, it's been a couple years." She smiled. "You can drop your stuff in the guest room. Your mom won't be back until tonight." The guest room, not my old room. I found out later that Helena had taken mine while she stayed here. Made sense, I guess. It had the bigger closet. Still, it felt strange sleeping in what used to be the guest room, now full of boxes labeled with her name in black marker. That first night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the faint hum of the TV downstairs. The walls were thin. I could hear her laugh sometimes, low, unhurried, like she wasn't watching the show as much as she was remembering something better. The next morning, she made coffee before I woke up. I walked into the kitchen barefoot, shirtless, rubbing my eyes. She looked up from the stove and gave me a once-over that lasted half a second too long. "You always walk around like that now?" she asked, smirking. I looked down. "Oh, sorry. Didn't think anyone was up." "It's fine," she said, turning back to the eggs. "Just caught me off guard." Later, while we ate, she asked me about school, what I was studying, whether I still played guitar, if I was seeing anyone. The questions felt casual, but her eyes watched closely. I noticed things I didn't before. The way she tucked her hair behind one ear when she listened. The way her tank top slipped slightly off one shoulder when she leaned forward. I told myself it was nothing, but over the next few days, little moments kept piling up. She'd pass me the remote and let her fingers rest on mine for a second too long. She'd walk past in soft clothes that clung in the right places. Once, I stepped into the hallway just as she came out of the bathroom in a towel. Her hair wet, skin glowing, eyes meeting mine without flinching. "Morning," she said, casual. "Morning," I replied, trying not to stare. That night, I lay awake again. The house was quiet. The shadows on the walls shifted as cars passed by outside. And for the first time, I let the thought sit in my mind without pushing it away. Something was different now. She wasn't just my mom's friend anymore. The weekend came, and with it, more silence. Mom had left for a quick 2-day trip, some off-site meeting with her company, leaving the house to just me and Helena. The first night without her felt quieter than it should have. I sat in the living room pretending to watch a movie, feet up, popcorn untouched. Helena walked in around 9, barefoot as always, wearing an oversized sweater that hung off one shoulder and cotton shorts that didn't quite reach mid-thigh. She carried a cup of tea and a folded blanket under her arm. She glanced at me. Still up? I shrugged. Couldn't sleep. Mind if I join you? I moved over without a word. She sat close, closer than she needed to. We watched something mindless, some old romantic drama that neither of us commented on. The only sound in the room came from the TV and the occasional clink of her spoon against the ceramic cup. At one point, I felt her foot graze mine under the blanket. I didn't move. Neither did she. There was a moment, quiet, subtle, where she turned to say something, caught my eye, and then didn't speak. Instead, she smiled lightly and looked away. I couldn't stop thinking about that smile. The next day, I stayed out most of the afternoon. Took the car, drove to a coffee shop, brought my laptop but didn't do anything productive. I just sat there, staring at the screen, thinking about the way her leg pressed against mine under the blanket, thinking about her towel slipping just slightly when she'd caught me in the hallway, thinking about whether she noticed I was noticing. Back at home, she was in the kitchen, phone pressed between shoulder and ear, talking softly to someone I couldn't hear. She wore a fitted gray dress, casual but clean, her hair twisted up with a clip. When she saw me, she gave a small wave and mouthed, "Dinner soon." I nodded, swallowed hard, and went upstairs. Dinner was simple grilled chicken, a salad, cold wine from the fridge. The conversation stayed light. She asked about my classes again, my old friends, whether I'd thought about moving back after graduation. I tried to keep it together, but every time she leaned forward, every time she laughed and touched my wrist or shoulder mid-sentence, it got harder to pretend. Afterward, she reached up to put a bowl away and had to stretch for it. Her dress lifted just slightly. I looked. She caught me and said nothing. That night, I stayed up reading, or tried to. I sat on the bed with the door halfway open, letting the cool air drift in, letting the house sounds reach me. Sometime past midnight, I heard her walk down the hall, barefoot steps, slow, measured. I stayed still, breathing quietly. Her steps stopped near my door. She didn't say anything. She didn't knock. And then, she kept walking. I got up a few minutes later and stepped into the hallway. Lights off. Her bedroom door was closed. Had she stopped outside my room on purpose? Or had she just paused? The next morning, nothing was said. She wore sunglasses at breakfast and poured her coffee without looking up. "You sleep okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah." She smiled faintly. "You look tired." Later that afternoon, she asked me to help her reorganize the upstairs closet. "It won't take long," she said. "I just need your height." The space was narrow, warm. I stood behind her as she pointed up to a shelf. "That one, the box with the blue ribbon." I reached up, stretched, and felt her shift behind me. Her hand landed lightly on the small of my back. "Steadying me," she said, but she didn't pull it away right away. When I turned around with the box in my arms, she looked up at me and smiled again. But this time, she didn't look away. The tension grew by the hour. Not loud, not obvious, just steady, lingering. Later that night, I couldn't sit still. I moved between rooms, pretending to clean, then stood in the hallway for too long, wondering if I'd hear her footsteps again. I didn't, not until dawn, and that's when everything changed. The room was dark when I opened my eyes. At first, I thought I had dreamt the sound. A faint creak, a whisper of movement, soft, careful. I blinked against the pale blue light leaking through the blinds. Morning hadn't fully arrived, but the sky had shifted, the kind of hour only birds and secrets wake up for. Then I heard it again, A soft click. My door. Not slamming. Not even closing. Just shifting open. I didn't move. Not right away. Footsteps. There. Careful. She stepped inside. I didn't need to guess. It was Helena. I saw the outline of her figure before anything else. The soft shape of her robe, tied loosely at the waist, her hair falling across one shoulder. She paused near the door, one hand still resting against it, the other pressed lightly to her chest. Her voice was quiet, barely above a whisper. "Be quiet this time." I sat up slowly, the sheet falling to my waist. My heart was hammering in my ears. I wanted to ask what she meant, but the question stuck in my throat. She stepped closer. "I didn't mean to wake you," she said, but her tone made it clear that wasn't true. She moved like she had rehearsed this. Not rushed, not unsure. Just slow, measured. She walked to the side of the bed and sat down, the mattress dipping under her weight. Her robe shifted slightly, revealing the pale skin of her thigh. "You left your light on last night," she said. "I was reading." She smiled faintly. "You always read when you're thinking too much." My throat was dry. Couldn't sleep. She turned her head slowly to look at me. Her eyes were calm, but focused. There was no hesitation there, only a kind of quiet certainty. "I couldn't either," she said. I swallowed. "Why are you here?" "I don't know." But she did. We both did. We sat there in silence, the air between us impossibly still. I could feel the warmth of her so close, could see the way her breath rose and fell in her chest, the way her fingers played idly with the edge of her robe. "I thought about leaving," she whispered. "I stood outside your door for a long time." I looked at her. "Why didn't you?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached out, slowly, and placed her hand on my forearm. Her fingers were warm, soft, but there was weight in them, like she was holding back everything she wasn't saying. "I just wanted to see you," she said. She didn't smile when she said it. She meant it. The silence that followed stretched and shimmered. My skin burned under her touch, not because it was bold, but because it was real. And because we both knew the line between curiosity and confession had already been crossed. "I keep telling myself this is a bad idea," she murmured. "Is it?" Her hand didn't move. She looked down, then back up again. "You're not a kid anymore." "You already said that once," I said. She tilted her head. "I wasn't sure if you heard me then." "I did." She leaned forward slightly. Not enough to close the space, but enough to shorten it. "I keep trying to forget how it feels when you look at me." I didn't answer. She didn't need me to. The moment was holding its breath. Neither of us moved. It wasn't fear. It was restraint. Thin, fragile restraint that was fraying at the edges. Then down the hall footsteps. Light. Probably nothing. Maybe the neighbors. Maybe no one. But she heard it too. Her eyes widened slightly. And then, just like that, she stood. Straightened her robe. Took a breath. "I should go," she whispered. I didn't stop her. But I didn't want her to go either. She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the frame. She looked back only once. Her eyes met mine, and in that glance was everything. Tension, regret, need, confusion, heat. "I didn't mean to wake you," she said again, but her voice was softer now. This time it sounded like an apology, or maybe a promise. Then she was gone. The door clicked shut behind her, and I was left staring at the place where she had been sitting, my heart still pounding like it had nowhere else to go. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, but nothing felt dark anymore. Nothing felt innocent either. I didn't go back to sleep. I stayed in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling as the sun slowly filled the room with pale light. Every crack in the walls, Every corner of the ceiling felt sharper now, more alive. Like the house had shifted during the night. Like I had. When I finally got up, the house was quiet. No footsteps. No sounds from the kitchen. Just stillness. I found her sitting outside on the back deck, a mug of coffee cupped in her hands, a sweater pulled over her robe. She didn't look up when I slid the screen door open. She didn't need to. "Coffee's fresh," she said, her voice even. I poured myself a cup and joined her. She didn't say anything else for a while. Neither did I. The morning air was cool, and the yard looked just like it always had. Neatly trimmed grass, garden hose coiled on the fence, a few birds hopping along the railing. Everything looked the same. Nothing felt the same. "I meant to leave sooner," she said finally. I looked at her. "But you didn't." She took a sip of her coffee, still not looking at me. "No, I didn't." I waited, hoping she'd keep talking. But she didn't. So I did. "I didn't sleep after you left." "Me neither." We both sat with that for a while. She finally turned toward me, her expression calm but tired. "This can't happen again." I nodded slowly, but I didn't say I agreed. She noticed. She set the mug down. "I don't want you to misunderstand what last night was. I don't. It was a mistake. You don't believe that." Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to argue. But she didn't. She just looked at me. "You're 23, she said. "And you're 42. So what?" She laughed once, softly. "So, a lot." The breeze shifted. The curtain behind us fluttered gently. For a moment, we just listened to the wind, like it might have something to say we couldn't. "I've always liked you," she said quietly. "Even when you were younger, you were different. Thoughtful. Quiet. Not like the others." "I've always noticed you," I said. "Even when I wasn't supposed to." That made her look away. A long silence followed. Not heavy, but fragile. Like a string pulled too tight. Then she stood. "I'm going to get dressed. I have errands." I looked up. "Are we not going to talk about it?" "We just did." She turned to go back inside. Before the door shut behind her, she added, without turning around, "If you're still thinking about this tonight, knock." The door clicked closed. The day passed like a dream half remembered. I cleaned my room, took a walk, tried to read. Every time I passed her in the hallway, we said nothing. She was dressed like always, casual, effortless, but her face was unreadable. She moved through the house like everything was fine, like she hadn't sat on my bed at dawn, like she hadn't whispered those words into the dark. But every time our eyes met, it was there. The tension. The thread neither of us had the courage to cut or tie. By evening, the house was full of noise again. Mom had returned. She asked about dinner, the weather, the groceries. Helena and I played along. We smiled, passed plates, made small talk. But I wasn't really there. I was still in that room. Still in the half-light of morning. Still hearing her voice say, "Be quiet this time." After dinner, Mom went to bed early. "Jet lag," she said. I waited. The hallway light was off. Helena's room was at the far end, her door half closed. I stood in front of mine for a long time. 10 steps. That's all it would take. Just 10 steps and one knock. But I didn't move. Not yet. Instead, I sat on my bed and stared at the doorknob. My mind raced, what it meant, what it didn't, what came after. Every outcome, every line crossed, every silence broken. Then soft footsteps. I looked up. She was standing in my doorway. Not in a robe this time. Jeans. A sweater. Barefoot. No makeup. No hesitation. "I was waiting," she said. "But you never came. I didn't know if I should." She stepped inside, closed the door gently behind her. "You don't have to do anything," she said. But if you're going to say nothing, say it now. I stood, heart pounding, every breath loud in my ears. I walked toward her, close enough to see the flicker in her eyes, the fear, the want, the honesty. I didn't speak. She reached for the doorknob behind her. Click, and in the quiet that followed, the world outside disappeared.